गुड आफ्टरनून एवरीवन. पीछे आवाज है? So we stopped with the formation of continent collision. That is the formation of Himalayas. So can you understand that the continent collision will result into formation of fold mountains without volcanoes, while the continent ocean collision will result into formation of fold mountains but with the volcanic eruption. क्यों है volcanic eruption? Because the denser part goes, melts, subducts, melts, and then gives out volcanic eruptions. So can you answer this question? Just tell me the structure of this question. So what will be the structure of this answer? क्या पूछा इन्होंने? That why the world's fold mountains are always located on the margins of the continents, and उसके बाद simple question explain the world distribution of fold mountains, volcanoes and earthquakes. That is, you will have to tell उनका relationship. So how will you start writing this answer? Any other different thing or same? So what is the definition of fold mountains? That is, start with the definition of a fold mountain. That is, they are the highest mountains on the earth formed due to the process of folding. Then come to the next change, that is, the formation of fold mountains can be explained with the help of plate tectonic theory. As per the plate tectonic theory, the convergent plate boundary is responsible for the formation of fold mountains. There are two types of collisions. वैसे तो there are three types, so you can write there are three types of collision, but one, continent ocean convergence and continent convergence. Now explain about the continent ocean convergence, कि there is subduction etc. Draw the diagram of continent ocean convergence and वहाँ पे लिखना that this type of convergence is most common type of convergence, and hence majority of the fold mountains such as Andes, Rockies, Alps etc. are located at the margins of the continent and oceans. Similarly, come to the next point. As we can see, due to subduction there is a melting of the plate. Due to melting of the plate, there is a formation of magma. This magma will rise up and result into violent volcanic eruptions. So the regions of the fold mountains except for continent convergence will have volcanoes. Whenever there is magma, whenever there is a movement of earth, whenever there is a movement of the plates, it will result into the shaking of the earth, and this explains the formation of earthquakes. Example, Pacific Ring of Fire. Pacific Ring of Fire का diagram. And with this your answer ends. This shows the world distribution of volcanoes, fold mountains and the earthquakes. Or this shows why the fold mountains, volcanoes and the earthquakes are closely related. So you can answer this very, very easily, how this mountains etc. are closely related. Fine with this? 12 marks, 12 marks, 10 marks, 200 words, इतना याद रखना. बिकॉज 200 वर्ड्स कभी कभी वो 12, 12.5 मार्क के लिए पूछते हैं, कभी कभी 10 मार्क्स के लिए. सो यूपीएससी हैज़ नो सच ऐसा डेफिनेट रूल. जनरली आजकल वो 10 मार्क के लिए पूछ रहे हैं, या 12.5 मार्क्स के लिए भी पूछते हैं. जब यूपीएससी स्टार्टेड विद दिस, 25 क्वेश्चन जब आएंगे जीएस में, तो 10 मार्क्स ईच क्वेश्चन. डायग्राम इज योर वैल्यू एडिशन, इट इज़ नॉट कंसिडर्ड इन वर्ड लिमिट. स्पेस होने दो कम, काफ़ी स्पेस मिलता है यूपीएससी. हिमालयस के बारे में नहीं, एक्सेप्शन हिमालयस लिख सकते हो. व्हाट इज 200 वर्ड्स? यू विल गेट 3 पेजेस. Seven minutes. You have to make diagrams as per the demand of the question. 2 हो सकते हैं, कभी कभी 1 भी नहीं हो सकते. 7 minutes हो जाते हैं 2 डायग्राम्स. स्टार्टिंग में 15 मिनट लगेंगे आंसर लिखने में, या 20 मिनट भी लगेंगे. बट यू विल हैव टू रिड्यूस दैट टाइम फॉर 7 minutes. रिमेंबर, इनिशियली 7 minutes में आंसर नहीं लिख पाओगे. इंट्रोडक्शन लिखोगे सिर्फ आंसर का 7 minutes में. आफ्टर दैट यू विल ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, पहले तो 20 मिनट लगने हैं. दैट इज़ वाई मैंने ये स्ट्रक्चर इसलिए दिया, क्योंकि ये क्वेश्चन मैं टेस्ट में डालूंगा. सो दैट एटलीस्ट यू विल राइट अ क्वेश्चन, 1 कंप्लीट क्वेश्चन, ताकि मैं हमें आउट ऑफ 100 मार्क्स वी कैन गेट 10 मार्क्स एटलीस्ट. सो वो मार्कशीट थोड़ी अच्छी लगेगी. सो ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, बट एक क्वेश्चन हम और ऐसे डालेंगे विच यू विल हैव टू थिंक. बिकॉज 7 minutes अगर आपको डर लग रहा है, तो इमेजिन व्हाट विल हैपन इन पेपर इज क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 एंशिएंट आर्ट एंड कल्चर, क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 आर्ट एंड कल्चर, क्वेश्चन नंबर 3, 4, 5 मॉडर्न इंडिया, पूरा मॉडर्न इंडिया, क्वेश्चन नंबर 6, 7 विल बी फ्रॉम वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री एंड पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस, क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 to 12 विल बी फ्रॉम सोशल इश्यूज, and question number 13 to 20 will be from geography. तो geography में physical geography, Indian geography, disasters, floods, the location of industries, बहुत सारे issues will be covered. So it all will require you to quickly shift your thoughts. सिर्फ geography के question लिखना है तो बहुत आसान है, but it will require you all to quickly shift your thoughts. History से thought process geography में जा रहा है, geography से the thought process is going on in some other question. So this will require you to quickly shift your thoughts, and that is the challenge. ये कब आएगा, कब टाइम कम लगेगा? when you have everything on your mind, that is fingertips. जब सब पता है, देख के आंसर में सिर्फ इतना लिखना है कि स्ट्रक्चर, हाँ मैं ये इधर डालूंगा, ये डायग्राम इधर डालूंगा, एंड दिस इज द बॉडी. इफ यू थिंक ऑन इट, पेपर इनकम्प्लीट रह जाता है. सो दिस इज व्हाट वी विल हैव टू डेवलप ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. क्योंकि 20 में से कुछ ऐसे क्वेश्चंस होंगे विच यू विल नॉट हैव अ वेरी गुड नॉलेज, कुछ ऐसे क्वेश्चंस होंगे विच विल हैव यू विल हैव अ कंप्लीट वंडरफुल नॉलेज. सो जिस क्वेश्चंस में वंडरफुल नॉलेज है, मे बी यू विल टेक 10 minutes. जिसमें बिल्कुल भी नॉलेज नहीं है, यू विल टेक 1 or 2 minutes टू जस्ट राइट समथिंग और स्क्रिबल समथिंग सो दैट यू कैन गेट एटलीस्ट 1 or 2 marks extra. सो विद दिस इज हाउ वी विल बी एबल टू कंप्लीट द पेपर. अगर 12-13 क्वेश्चंस prepared आए मेंस में, that means very good, you will get very good marks in the mains paper. So इसमें ही डायग्राम्स, इसी में you will have to do that addition. एक एंड डायग्राम बनाने में ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं लगेगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, so you do not have to make diagrams in this GS इतने ज़्यादा, बट ऑप्शनल अगर जोग्राफी है तो we will have to make a diagrams. एंड उसमें वर्ल्ड मैप हैज़ टू बी मेड इन 40 seconds, इंडिया का मैप हैज़ टू बी मेड इन 17 seconds. So we deal in seconds, या 30 seconds maximum. अब there are some people who will have geography optional and they will be making India का map even in the international relation का answer in GS. They will be making India का map even in the migration का question. They will be making India का map in the world distribution of industries. दे विल बी मेकिंग इंडिया का मैप इन इंडो चाइना रिलेशन. क्या क्या लगता है इंडिया का मैप बनाने में इन इंडो चाइना रिलेशन? अक्साई चीन, सॉरी मैकमोहन लाइन एंड द अक्साई चीन. सो हो गया इंडिया का मैप, इंडो चाइना रिलेशन, द डिस्प्यूटेड टेरिटरीज. सो दिस इज हाउ वी विल बी, ऑब्वियसली ये कंप्लीट करना पड़ेगा यहाँ से. और इंडो पाकिस्तान का मैप, दैट इज सर क्रीक इशू एंड द सियाचिन ग्लेशियर इशू और द डिस्प्यूटेड. मैप बनाना इतना बड़ा नहीं है. द ओनली थिंग इज इट विल कम बाय प्रैक्टिस. सो डोंट वरी कि इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा मैप्स बनाने पड़ेंगे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ़ वी वांट टू शो द फोल्ड माउंटेन्स का मैप, I guess hardly 15 seconds. So it is not that challenging. The only thing is you will have to come out from that mindset and खुद को ही challenge करना पड़ेगा. After that it is very very easy to draw because you will be making flow charts. Ethics के paper में people make flow charts. People show how many stakeholders are there in the society with the help of flow charts. We will make flow charts, for example, agrarian distress or the farmers crisis, causes historical, ब्रिटिश राज के समय, causes post independence में LPG liberalization reforms 1991, causes urbanization, causes changing social structure, climatic conditions, lack of capital, land fragmentation. I say you can make many of the causes. If you make the flow charts, it is easier job for the examiner also to read your answer. Your answer is complete. And देखो, you have to understand कि this process is a competitive exam. Suppose you write a very good answer, but your presentation is not good. Handwriting भी इतना खास नहीं है, not non-legible है. सो एंड आपका पेपर ऐसा आया कि जिसके 10 क्वेश्चंस थे एक्सेप्शनली गुड या एवरेज बट विथ अ वेरी गुड प्रेजेंटेशन, और आपका पेपर है 10वां. आपका पेपर देख के ही दे आर ह्यूमन बींग्स, दे आर नॉट कंसर्न, उनके लिए ये रूटीन जॉब है. दे आर नॉट कंसर्नड अबाउट कि आप ये यूपीएससी, फॉर यू इट इज़ अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ लाइफ एंड डेथ, फॉर देम इट इज़ नॉट, इट इज़ देयर रूटीन जॉब. व्हेन यू विल गो फॉर इंटरव्यू यू विल रियलाइज कि उनके लिए रूटीन जॉब है इंटरव्यू लेना. सो यू गेट प्रिपेयर्ड, आप टाई शूज़ ये सब पहन के इतना प्रॉपरली करके जाते हो, एंड वो लोग समोसा खाते खाते आपका इंटरव्यू लेते हैं. आई रिमेंबर, आई विल नॉट टेक द नेम, कि वो ही वॉज चेकिंग हिज फेसबुक एंड आस्किंग मी क्वेश्चन. सो उनके लिए वो रूटीन जॉब बन जाता है. एंड इन दिस रूटीन जॉब it is you who have to take the marks, it is you who have to impress. So just imagine this examination as your father-in-law, and you as a candidate, you are going to ask their daughter's or son's hand in marriage, and why they will give you that if you are impressive enough. So otherwise तो options बहुत है market में. So the same thing is applying to this examinations. So otherwise why they will give you? So the same thing, you will have to take out the marks from this process, and these are the tricks. So अगर आपका क्वेश्चन 10वां है, बहुत अच्छा आपने कंटेंट लिखा है, पर हैंडराइटिंग इज नॉट प्रॉपर, पैराग्राफिंग नहीं दिया है एक ही कंटिन्यूस लाइन में, व्हाई विल वी बी इंटरेस्टेड इन रीडिंग योर आंसर? आपको लगता होगा कि दे रीड ईच एंड एवरी लाइन. नो, दे जनरली रीड इट वर्टिकली. Many of the coaching institutes pay their teachers more than what UPSC pays to the examiners. मतलब यहाँ पे टीचर्स मतलब जो कंटेंट डेवलपर्स होते हैं उनको ज़्यादा पैसे मिलते हैं बहुत सारे कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स में, रादर दैन व्हाट यूपीएससी पेज टू द एज पर द गवर्नमेंट रेट टू द सीनियर प्रोफेसर्स. एंड उनका इतना साल का एक्यूमुलेटेड नॉलेज होता है दैट they will look at the answer and they can know what you have written and what you have not written. So over the period of time, you will have to develop this knack of writing. Writing the answer will be a major challenge. कल एक मैं एक नया क्वेश्चन अगर दूंगा, that is the continental drift theory is nothing but an improved version, the plate tectonic theory is nothing but an improved version of the plate tectonic of the continental drift theory. So इसमें so much things you have to write. You have to write something about the continental drift theory and उसका fault. Then you have to show how these faults have been overcome by the convectional currents which has been used in the plate tectonic theory. Then you will have to write how the plate tectonic theory tells each and everything about the formation of geographical phenomena. And remember, this is a past year question. 2014 का question है ये. So this is there. This is your past year question, and therefore I had given you कि एक structure बना के रखो. So सबसे पहले introduction में generally definition कि अगर कुछ नहीं आता तो definition. Then stick to the demand of the question. क्या है demand? Demand of the question is of two types. एक तो you have to explain why the world's fold mountains are located near at the continents. So उसके लिए हमने कहीं तो एक line लिखी है that this is the most common type of plate boundary. वही line use होगी, and you will have to develop your answer according to this line. Then you will have to explain why the volcanic eruptions and earthquakes are common in this region, and you will have to develop your answer. Then you should ask yourself कि कौन से essential diagrams है. तो हाँ, एक essential diagram है उसमें, that is the diagram which we had drawn. कौन सा नॉन एसेंशियल डायग्राम है बट इट इज एन वैल्यू एडिशन, तो वो है पैसिफिक रिंग ऑफ फायर का, एंड दैट वैल्यू एडिशन विल फेच यू 1 एक्स्ट्रा मार्क. सो 1 एक्स्ट्रा मार्क, या इट मे नॉट फेच यू ऑल्सो द मार्क. सो द वैल्यू एडिशन का मटेरियल शुड कम वंस यू रीच एट द बेसिक. डोंट डायरेक्टली स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द वैल्यू एडिशन. फर्स्ट आंसर डेवलपमेंट, आंसर राइटिंग, and then value addition. And see, this is the best subject for writing the answers, because जितने भी हम GS के subjects करेंगे उसमें सबसे technical cause effect वाला subject यही है. बाकी इसमें if any question comes regarding this polity, the role of governor has been constantly changing. We should now remove the office of governor, critically analyze. अब क्या करोगे आप? वेदर कौन सा ये करोगे, निकालना है गवर्नर को या नहीं निकालना है. सो क्या है फ़ायदे गवर्नर के, क्या है नुकसान गवर्नर के, या और एक स्टेप जाना, द रूल ऑफ लॉ इज एसेंशियल कंडीशन फॉर लिबर्टी एज वेल एज फॉर मेंटेनिंग डिसिप्लिन एंड ऑर्डर इन द सोसाइटी. क्रिटिकली एनालाइज. पहले क्वेश्चन समझो कि रूल ऑफ लॉ क्या है, फिर उसके बाद वो लिबर्टी कैसे देगा, और उसके बाद वो लिबर्टी कैसे निकालेगा, ये भी दोनों बताना है. And then, so therefore you will go to the pol science या polity के questions at the next level, but start writing with this. थोड़ा एक बार वो resistance निकालना है. Once you come out of that resistance of writing, then you will be able to write the answers very easily. एक बार वो brain शुरू हो गया like a current, then it goes very easily. So whenever you go to mains, no matter how much you practice, you will go to mains, पहले 2 questions में time लगेगा, 10 मिनट 15 मिनट लगते हैं, but over the period your process starts, the brain starts working so fast that you will be able to complete the paper. And see, it really works fast. Whenever you go for the examination next time, before UPSC also, go for the state service जो आप seriously prepare करके जाते हो, exam के बाद बाहर आके सर को हाथ लगाना, सर गरम रहता है, as if it is some machine, it is just continuously working. And that is what we will have to develop. We will have to develop this practice of continuously making this machine work. इस machine को अगर आदत नहीं है काम करने की तो, so
are they asking more questions from the current affairs and the geography also?
yes. But current affairs if I do, for example, if I do flooding wala, if you do not know base of flooding, then how you can answer that current affairs का question. Question will come on urban flooding in recent times. उसके लिए first you should write about the flooding, why the conditions for flooding is happening, and then 1-2 paragraph आएगा urban flooding पे. हमें लगेगा current से आया है question, ऐसा नहीं, you require the base. Distribution of industries पे आया, तो you have a base here in the rocks, metamorphic rocks है, then you can answer that in the current affairs. So always you require a base. सिर्फ current affairs लिखोगे तो marks नहीं मिलेंगे. fold mountains are always parallel to trench because if this is an area which is going to be folded, ये fold हो जाएगा, उसके क्यों fold होगा? Because the two plates are pushing. So this area becomes folded, but the other plate goes below. So ये fold होगा, forming fold mountains, while the other part will go below. What is this part where the plate goes below? It is nothing but trench. इसलिए fold mountain and trenches are always parallel because one plate gets folded while the other plate subducts. So जो subduction zone है, that is an trench. Now suppose this is folding, again it is going below. It will keep on folding, but trench is keeping on forming, and as a result, fold mountains will always be parallel. Equal. Subduction is going below, और जितना subduction हो रहा है उतना कहीं तो upliftment is occurring. So upliftment is occurring similar to the subduction. जितना actually subduction से ज़्यादा upliftment is similar to the divergence, which is occurring somewhere else. Divergent plate boundary जितनी हो रही है उतना greater will be the upliftment. Exactly उतना नहीं होगा कि 5 सेंटीमीटर का subduction या 5 सेंटीमीटर का divergence हो 5 सेंटीमीटर का ही upliftment ऐसे नहीं होगा, because when the mountains are getting uplifted, they are also eroded by rivers. They are also eroded by the agents of glaciation. They are also eroded by rainwater. Rainwater, आज जैसे बारिश है तो आपको देखोगे शाम में the water will be muddy. Why is that water muddy? Because it is, when it is flowing, it is dissolving the mud or the rocks which is there, or ये है erosion. This is nothing but erosion.
In continental convergence, earthquakes are deep focused.
Or while doing the earthquakes. In any convergence, the earthquakes will be deep focus. In transform boundary fault, the earthquakes will be shallow focus. Why? Because the plate is going below. So deep focus. Deep focus means very deep inside the earth. So convergence mein there will be deep focus earthquakes only.
So but plate is just below one.
It is comparative to the earthquakes. Shallow focus earthquakes kya hai? You should know for that. And then you will know what is a deep focus earthquake. So if it is up to top 50 kilometers, shallow focus. 50 to 100 kilometers, medium focus. Greater than 100 kilometers, deep focus. So it is that area, shallow focus, deep focus. So before the formation of Himalayas, let us see how the Himalayas are. So the first thing in India, if we see, सबसे पहले, if I draw this as a map of India, don't draw this map, it's for your understanding. This is a mountain which is known as Karakoram range. Karakoram then goes into China, जहाँ पे उसका name is Kailash. And then there is a extension of Karakoram which is known as Ladakh. These are the three ranges, and we will call these three ranges as Trans-Himalayas. What do you mean by Trans-Himalayas? The mountains which were formed just before the main Himalayas. I said this isn't a part of Himalayas, but they were formed before the main Himalayas. So what is this main Himalayas? Main Himalayas is starting from the Great Himalayas. And if you look at the Great Himalayas, it starts from somewhere here, then uske baad there is a bend, and after bend, this is how continuously they will run. And they will again have another bend in Arunachal Pradesh and China border. So ये है यहाँ पे what the mountain is known as Nanga Parvat. And यहाँ पे the next mountain is known as Namcha Barua. This is known by different names. For example, it is known as Zaskar in Kashmir. It has the highest peaks in the world. It has Nanda Devi here, it has Trishul here, it has Mount Everest here, it has Annapurna here, it has Kanchenjunga in Sikkim, and then it has the Namcha Barua also. The second highest peak in the world is, or the highest peak in India is? Which is the highest peak in India? The highest peak in India is K2, Godwin, Austin or K2, not Kanchenjunga. K2 is with Pakistan now, but it is officially still a part of India because that is a Pakistan occupied Kashmir. It is not a proper Pakistan wala region कि you can say that is, अगर आपने बोला कंचनजंगा तो फिर you are saying कि हाँ वो हमने पार्ट पाकिस्तान को दे दिया है. So you will be saying end तक K2, चाहे वो इंडिया के पास नहीं है अभी.
Sir, but technically we see Kanchenjunga, half of the part of Kanchenjunga is in Sikkim and half is in Nepal.
Still it is in India. Means it is in India. Some is in Sikkim is in India and Nepal. So that is why you will be saying Kanchenjunga only because Indian side is also steeper. So I say nahi, then that mountain will not belong to any country. Nepal also cannot claim that. Say Mount Everest, you call Nepal also, you call China also because some of it is in Nepal, some of it is in China. So we say technically then to it should come to somewhere around Nanda Devi only, but it will not be that way. Nanda Devi is the only peak that is totally in India, but I say nahi ho. But remember, K2 is a mountain in the Karakoram range. It is not in the Great Himalayas. So these Himalayas are known as the Great Himalayas. Why Great Himalayas? Why the name Great? Because this is the highest mountain in the world. Its height is greater than even the Trans Himalayas. After that we have Middle Himalayas, which is broken in many parts. And then it will go here. So it may be known as a Pir Panjal range of Kashmir. It is known as the Dhauladhar range of Himachal Pradesh. It is known as a Mussoorie ranges of Uttarakhand. Mussoorie or the North Tibba range, ye hai Middle Himalayas. And then we have very tiny mountains, that is we have small mountains as compared to this, which are known as Shivaliks. And the Shivaliks will run continuously. And again in the Arunachal Pradesh, they will be known by different names. For example, यहाँ पे they are known as Jammu Hills in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. In the state of Uttarakhand, Himachal में the same continuation है. In the state of Uttarakhand, they are known as Kumaon Hills, and यहाँ पे they are known as Dafla, Miri, Abhor and Mishmi. So this is how the Himalayas. Then uske baad Himalayas take a southward bend, and after taking the southward bend they go this way right up to Myanmar, and after going into the Myanmar they go into the Indian Ocean, and unka peaks are coming out as Andaman and Nicobar Islands, though we now say it is a different entity, but in sabka formation is same. Now this hills which are here, हम बाद में Indian geography में करेंगे, they are known as Purvanchal Himalayas, and they are Naga Hills of Nagaland. They are Manipur Hills of Manipur. They are Mizo Hills or Lushai Mountains of Mizoram. And lastly, they are Arakan Yoma of Myanmar. Of Arunachal, Naga Hills of Nagaland, Manipur Hills of Manipur. So you can see how the states have been divided on the basis of what is the most important physiography in this region. मैंने आपको first lecture में शायद कहा था कि we will see the physiography being reflected in Indian state. Physiography has, or the climatic conditions has given rise to languages, because language culture is always reflected in the terms of physiography. You cannot live in an area, or we cannot live in a society which is against the nature's law. That is, आप ये नहीं कह सकते अभी कि मैं इंडिया में बिना छत के रहूँगा. यू कैन सी व्हाट इज हैपनिंग आउटसाइड. ठीक है, अगर आप कहोगे कि मैं छाता लेके बैठूंगा, तो व्हाट यू विल डू इन द मंथ ऑफ मार्च अप्रैल में, जब 40, 42, 43, 45 एंड 48 डिग्री सेल्सियस होगा. सो ओवर, इफ यू गो टू पेनिनसुलर इंडिया, वहाँ पे आपको छत जनरली स्लोपिंग मिलेंगे, स्पेशली इन द कोस्टल रीजन्स, क्योंकि रेनफॉल इज वेरी हेवी. वी हैव सीन यस्टरडे केरला में अगेन द रेन्स हैव बिकम वेरी हेवी एंड दे हैव स्टार्टेड किलिंग द people, that is again the floods have started. So this is how you will have to get adjusted, and this is reflected in Indian society also, and this will be reflected in any of the countries, but developing countries mein bahut zyada hai, because developing countries mein we are primarily engaged in the primary business, that is business which comes directly, occupation which comes directly from the nature. So with this, when we study the Himalayas, can you see one peculiarity of the Himalaya, कि यहाँ पे एक bend है in the Himalayas and there is another bend there, and this bend in the Himalayas are known as syntaxial bends, or what are known as an hairpin bend. The other peculiarity regarding the Himalayas is, I have told you yesterday, that they are steeper on southern side. Southern side means Indian side. Why? Because this is the northern side of the Himalayas, this is the southern side of the Himalayas. So they are more steep on the south. That is, climbing the Mount Everest from Nepal is difficult. That is what I have told you, and you have a current affairs also with this. Because of the too much of an pollution in the Mount Everest region, China ने वहाँ से ban कर दिया climbing. So in the year 2017, people started climbing from the Nepalese side. And what we had in 2017, the highest recorded deaths ever while climbing the Mount Everest. Why? Because it is difficult to climb from the steeper side. And you know why it is steeper side? Because who is more active, Eurasian plate or Indian plate? कौन push कर रहा है? Indian plate. So जहाँ से push हो रहा है, that side has become more steep. Getting it? The part which is steeper is because Indian plate is pushing the Eurasian plate. Had the Eurasian plate been pushing the Indian plate, then the northern side would have been steeper. Next thing regarding the Himalayas is, they are again arc-like in shape, like any of the continental arcs, like any of the fold mountains. But this arc-like in shape is absence of volcano, and we already know the reason why they are absence of volcano, because of the continent-continent collision. The next characteristics of Himalayas is, Himalayas have marine fossils on them. Himalayas have marine sediments on them. आज भी Himalayas पे fossils में fish मिलती है. That is, fish should be below the water, but Himalayas में at the top you will find fish का fossils. Himalayas में even at the top. Recently, just 3 महीने पहले, a large fish or a large marine animal belonging to the Cretaceous age का fossil मिला था in this part of Punjab, जो touching है Himalayas का. Why is this so? So we will see इसका answer, that is the formation of the Himalayas with the help of plate tectonic theory. Fine with this, but you should just have a background ki what is happening in the Himalayas. Next, are there any lakes in the Himalayas which are famous? Dal Lake, Mansarovar Lake, Vular Lake, और एक दो lakes which are famous in Leh Ladakh region. हाँ, कौन सा है वो? Pangong So and So Moriri. So Pangong So Moriri, ये जितने भी lakes है which are present here, they all are salty lakes. At such an cold climate, salty lakes नहीं होने चाहिए. Salty lakes, we can understand, they will be present in desert region, कि fresh water has evaporated and only salt has remained below. But the salty lakes show that they came out of sea. They came out of the sea. आज भी Himalayas में we have an salty lake. So all these things, let us look. पहले तो ये story लगेगी, but remember ये fiction नहीं है, ये fact है. What is I am going to tell you now. So no need of drawing, just try to understand these things first. This you can remember for prelims. That is the Himalayas from north to south. So Karakoram, Karakoram के बाद Ladakh, Ladakh के बाद Zaskar, Pir Panjal, and then Jammu Hills. So this you should remember for the preliminary examination from north to south. What happened? कुछ नहीं होगा, don't worry. So they are happy with that we are studying the plate tectonic theory. So is it still there? So which is this wave? P wave. इसके बाद कौन सी wave आएगी? And which can be the most destructive wave? Surface wave. वो थोड़ी 8 मिनट के बाद आ सकती है. Then we will run if it is coming. So P wave के लिए we won't run down. So can I continue? See, one thing I have learned in Delhi is नीचे जाके कोई फायदा नहीं because electric live cables है. So उससे अच्छा तो रूम में ही रहो. बिल्डिंग ये गिरेगी नहीं. This is a commercial building. So इसके checks and balances है. But if you go down highway, पीछे जाओगे तो live cables. So therefore you are safe here. Now let us look at this. So remember this part: Karakoram, Zaskar, Pir Panjal, Jammu Hills. Why are we doing all this topic? We are doing all this topic so that you can go for training in Mussoorie Hills. So that is your Labasna is located exactly at the top of Mussoorie Hills. So that is in the middle Himalayas. So let us look. Can I rub this diagram? This is an equator. So India was once a part of an Gondwana land, and the Gondwana land was located much to the southern side. And this India, which was located here, started breaking from the Gondwana land. And when it started breaking from the Gondwana land, this peninsular India consisted of the present day peninsula plus उसके दो arms थे peninsular India के. So how was the peninsular India? It was roughly this in shape. आज हम ये shape मानते हैं, but actually it was not this in shape. There was one mountain here, what we'll call this as an Aravallis. While there were other mountains here, what you call them as today Bareil ranges or the Karbi Along Plateau region of Assam. Karbi Along Plateau, Garo Khasi Jaintia, Bareil. This is nothing but a peninsular plateau in northeast India. So northeast India इतनी ज़्यादा diversity क्यों है? Because you have peninsular plateau, you have Great Plains, Assam का lower Assam वाला region, as well as you have Great Himalayas and Purvanchal Himalayas. इसलिए there is so much diversity in the peninsular plateau. And you already know through current affairs कि peninsular plateau is an example of the northeast India का Meghalaya is an example of an peninsular plateau. That is, someone was telling me कि there is a demand for the calling this rocks as an Meghalayan rocks. So this is why the peninsula, this was the original peninsular plateau. Actually it was not this way. There was a landmass which was present even here, but we will for our understanding take this way. Then the Indian peninsular plateau started moving northwards. As the peninsular plateau started moving northwards, at certain point of time in the Cretaceous period, it came under the influence of one hot spot. Beach mein what was there? There was an Tethys Sea. Now, what are the hotspots? We will do this in detail in volcanoes. Hotspots are some areas on the surface of the earth jahan se there is an intense volcanic eruption, and it has nothing to do with the plate tectonics. They are not the plate boundaries. These are the weaker parts of the earth's crust jahan se the volcanic lava or magma can escape. And during इस समय जब Cretaceous period था, the earth का crust was already very hot and the earth was about to cool. And because of cooling, the earth was degassing. Degassing matlab it was giving excess of gases and magma and cooling itself. So when the peninsular plateau was sliding like a boat, uska western part came under the influence of an reunion hotspot. Reunion नाम का एक hotspot था. आज that hotspot has been cooled and it is nothing but a reunion island which is there in the Indian Ocean. उसके बाजू में is the country Mauritius. Mauritius के पास there is an reunion island. This was once a continuous volcanic eruption. Even the Mauritius was an example of an hotspot जहाँ से there is a continuous volcanic eruption. Now when the Indian plate was sliding, only the western part of Indian plate came under the influence of a reunion hotspot. कौन सा part? Only the western part of Indian plate came under the influence of reunion hotspot, and therefore in the western part of Indian plate we had one of the largest flow of lava or magma. We can say this is a lava which resulted into the formation of an Deccan lava plateau. Once upon a time, the Deccan lava plateau was one of the largest lava plateau in the world, jiska area was 10 lakh square kilometers. Today it has been reduced in size and it is around 5.2 lakh square kilometers. Still, it is one of the largest plateau in the world. Of the which lava? अब oceanic crust से हो रहा है ये. So basaltic or granitic? Basaltic lava. Basalt was coming out. Ocean crust से क्या निकलता है? Basalt. Therefore, basalt is coming out. Today, you know, this has been cooled, solidified, eroded, and यहाँ पे क्या मिलेगी? काली मिट्टी. That is a black soil is found in this region. वैसे that original start was, the original Deccan lava plateau was from Bahadurgarh region in Haryana. Right from Bahadurgarh till the Tamil Nadu, that was an original basaltic plateau. But this part has been removed. But even if you go today to the north, to the state of Haryana, you will see some basalt at some places, though it has been now covered by numerous other sediments. So as the Indian plate was moving, remember this was a huge landmass, उसमें भी पहले नदियाँ थी, and these rivers were flowing into the surrounding oceans or seas, and these rivers were carrying the sediments. Also there were many rivers which were coming from the Asian plate and flowing here. For example, when we say today's Ganga, Brahmaputra and Indus, ये जो तीन rivers है, I am asking you a simple question: are they older than the Himalayas or are they formed after the formation of Himalayas? After the formation, इसलिए हम कहते हैं कि therefore they originate in the Himalayas. The answer is wrong. These rivers are older than the Himalayas. The only thing is कि ये एक single river थी, what is known as Indo-Brahma river, और जिसको कहते थे the mighty Shivalik river, जो जाती थी somewhere in the Caspian Sea or the Aral Sea. It has not yet been proved अभी, और अभी सोचो भी मत किस में जाती थी, but this was a single river which was there. So वहाँ का waters are older. Though today for simplification we say कि Ganga originates from the Gangotri glacier. जब Himalaya started to form, सबसे पहले बीच में का part came out, and as a result the Indo-Brahma river got divided into two parts, one Brahmaputra, the other Indus. Otherwise, how can their source be same? Mansarovar, Rakas Lake region. Today their source is same, but they are going into different parts. And then जब collision हुआ, तो जो southern part था वो बहुत steep हो गया because of folding. So the one branch came down, and that we call it as an Ganga river. So this is an original Indo-Brahma river. So that it has divided now into three different branches, what we call as Indus, Ganga and the Brahmaputra. But before that, as these rivers were flowing, they were causing large amount of sediments to be deposited in the shallow sea known as an Tethys Sea. And therefore, can I say the already shallow sea, because of a deposit of sediment, started to become very, very shallow? It started to become very shallow, and Indian plate continued uska journey northwards. So this is how the Indian plate continued uska journey northwards, and this is how the Indian plate was moving. But tab tak kya ban gaya tha here? That is what is known as an Deccan lava plateau. Now, as the Indian plate came nearby, the sediments which were formed in the Tethys Sea, ये जितने भी sediments थे, the sea started to become shallow, because when the India was moving and the rivers were also depositing, ये part टूट रहा था because of the friction, and all these sediments were falling into the Tethys Sea, and the Tethys Sea का floor started becoming shallow and shallow. Initially जितना भी Tethys Sea के नीचे का crust था, will it be pushed first? Now imagine when it comes in this position, this is Indo-Australian plate, this is the original Tethys Sea ka oceanic crust, and this is the Asian plate. So can I say initially the Tethys Sea wala crust will be subducting below the continent, that is the Asian plate, because Tethys Sea का जो crust है, it is denser, वो sea था, and it is an older sea. Even today, Alps have volcanoes because the remaining part of the Tethys Sea, that is Mediterranean Sea, is yet to go below. But this time the Tethys Sea, in the Indian case, this Tethys Sea का plate or this oceanic crust, understanding this, went below the Asian plate. And when it went below the Asian plate, obviously pehle it collided, and after collision there was folding. So this resulted into the formation of the mountains just before the Himalayas, जिसको आज हम कहते हैं as Trans Himalayas. And Trans Himalayas once upon a time had volcanoes. They are of an volcanic origin as compared to the Himalayas. Now you should know why we distinguish Trans Himalayas and the Himalayas. उनको भी हम कह सकते थे नॉर्दर्न हिमालयाज, ग्रेट हिमालयाज, मिडल हिमालयाज एंड शिवालिक्स. सो व्हाई वी हैव अ स्पेशल वर्ड फॉर देम, ट्रांस हिमालयाज, बिकॉज अनलाइक द अदर हिमालयाज, ट्रांस हिमालयाज ऑफ विच ओरिजिन? volcanic origin. Why volcanic origin? Because they were formed due to deformation of an oceanic crust. They were formed due to the Tethys Sea का crust. Getting it? Now इसीलिए we call this Karakoram का official, Kara means black and Koram means rock. So Karakoram, Kailash, have you seen the photos of Kailash? What is the color of the rock? It is blackish in color because it has more of an basalt, and Himalayas have more of an granite. That is why the color difference is there. इसीलिए the official name of Karakoram in India is Krishna Giri. Krishna means black and Giri means mountain. You should know that official name also of Karakoram is Krishna Giri mountains. Now as the Indian plate started going, now this is the direction of an Indian plate. Now when the Indian plate is going, remember Indian plate is made up of very very strong rocks. आज भी हमने देखा that peninsular India is made up of very tough rocks. इसलिए तीन ही, if you remember the first lectures, we had called some regions as shields, and that includes the Canadian shield, it includes the Africa, and it includes the peninsular India. Very strong rocks. They have not been eroded, though they belong to the origin of the earth. Now these rocks, when this peninsular India was moving, imagine that peninsular India was having two arms like this. One arm is the Aravalis and the other arm is the hills of northeast India. And when it went to the north, this is how it collided. The first arm pushed the Asian plate to back, resulting into formation of an first syntaxial bend in the Himalayas. If you look at the syntaxial bend very properly, it is exactly at the part where Aravalis are projecting. Aravalis आज राजस्थान में, दिल्ली में खत्म हो जाते हैं. Syntaxial bend is in Jammu and Kashmir because the original Aravalis have been now covered by the sediments. वैसे technically Aravalis do not end in Delhi. Aravalis will route of Aravallis is found right up to the Himalayas, resulting into formation of an first syntaxial bend. Why? Because of the pushing of the Aravallis. The collision was so powerful and so impactful that it resulted into the breaking of Indian plate. When the Indian plate broke, after breaking, the western part of Indian plate went below the sea. And because the western part of Indian plate went below the sea, ये सब आंसर में नहीं लिखना है कि it has went below the sea. हमारा आंसर will be only regarding the Himalayas, but you should know the formation of the other part. So when the western part went below the sea, today we know this western part because it has gone below the sea. हमें लगता है कि ये continuous mountain है, and we call this continuous mountain as Western Ghat. तो बाद में हम करेंगे in Indian geography that the western coast is an example of an submerged coastline. Why it is a submerged coastline? Because the collision was so powerful that crack was formed on the Indian plate, and as a result of this, the western part of India went below the sea. Collision was so powerful that it deformed the sediments of the Tethys Sea, जो भी थे sediments which were there, which did not went below, sediments of the Eurasian plate, sediments of the Indian plate, to give rise to the highest mountains in the world, that is known as an Himalayas. कौन से Himalayas? Great Himalayas. After the collision, the Indian plate got locked here. Even today it is locked. And after getting locked, it rebounded. Rebounded means one part gets locked and the other part starts coming in the other direction, rebounded. And when it started rebounding, this is how the Indian plate started moving. So what it will now start moving in this direction. When it was moving, you can see it is not directly colliding, sideways collision हो रहा है. And because it is not directly colliding, what has happened is the Purvanchal and Andaman and Nicobar Islands were formed. Again, it is an example of an collision, but after rebound, the Indian plate started to move. And the second syntaxial bend was formed in this region. Why? Because of the second arm of the peninsular India, that is the Mikir-Rengma Hills region. Beach mein there was no resistant force, and therefore Himalayas are sagging in between, and this is how the Himalayas were formed. This was the first era of collision forming the Great Himalayas. But this collision kept on happening with greater or lesser intensities. जब greater intensities से collision हुआ है, so second collision resulted into formation of Middle Himalayas. The third collision resulted into formation of Shivaliks, and hence we have three parallel ranges in the Himalayas. Why syntaxial bend in the Himalayas? Because the two arms of the peninsular plateau pushed the Eurasian plate backwards. Why convexo-concave? Why we make Himalayas somewhat like this always? Because this part, yes, there was no resistance. This part went below, and as a result we have the formation of the convexo-concave structure. Convexo-concave means अगर आपने यहाँ पे देखा तो it is concave from the Indian side, then convex, and then again concave. Look from the other side, convex, concave, convex. So we say Himalayas are convexo-concave mountains, resulted into formation of an Himalayas. So this is how the Himalayas were formed. Even today, the collision is happening, and you just got an example. What happens when there is a collision? There are tremors which are generated. इसका मतलब ये क्या है? What this tremor showed you? This tremor gave you a live example कि Indian plate is going below the Eurasian plate. So just अभी हुआ है. The Indian plate is slightly going below the Eurasian plate, and whenever the Indian plate is slightly going below the Eurasian plate, it will result into formation of an earthquakes. Getting this? And therefore the Himalayas are still rising. They are rising at the rate of 5 to 10 centimeters a year. So this is how the Himalayas were formed. 5 to 10 centimeters a year. Now I am quickly revising. Indian plate was a part of Gondwana land. It separated from the Gondwana land, started drifting northwards. The northward drifting of the Indian plate resulted into formation of the Deccan lava plateau. Then the Indian plate came and collided with the Himalayas. This Indian plate had two arms. One arm was the Aravallis and the second arm was the hills of northeast India. First, the western part of Indian plate came and collided with the Himalayas and therefore West Himalayas were formed. आज हमें atomic studies से, proper scientific studies से पता चला है that Western Himalayas are older than the Eastern Himalayas. Because the collision was so powerful that the western part of Himalayas went behind. While the eastern part of Himalayas, after the collision, the Indian plate got stuck and it started rebounding. When it started rebounding, it pushed the margins of Pacific plate and Burmese plate, giving rise to the Purvanchal hills. Then the second arm of the peninsular India pushed the Asian plate, giving rise to the second syntaxial bend and the formation of the Eastern Himalayas. While ये सब जब complete हुआ, the central part touched, and because the central part touched, the middle Himalayas, middle section of an Himalayas were formed. After that, three continuous collision gave rise to the three parallel ranges of the Himalayas. Fine with this? Even today, the Himalayas are rising. We will see syntaxial bend properly at last में दिखेगा, but before that, answer one prelims का question.
So this first syntaxial bend is Western Himalayas.
Yes. So what is the answer for this? Oldest to youngest. सबसे पहले oldest is Aravallis. So A के बाद Deccan lava plateau. After that Trans Himalayas. After that Himalayas. And सबसे youngest is the Great Plains. Why? Because after the formation of Himalayas, वहाँ से जो आज हम कहते हैं नदियाँ are coming down, they are bringing the sediments and depositing it. कल ही हमने देखा, when the Himalayas were formed, depression था initially. That depression was later on filled up by the rivers, resulting into formation of the Great Plains. And this you can see many times this kind of question. इसमें से एक दो वो विंध्यास दे देंगे instead of some other. But this is the commonly asked question in prelims. Aravallis are the oldest fold mountains. जब गोंडवाना था तब Aravallis थे, pre-Cambrian. Go into the previous lecture, pre-Cambrian fold mountains. Pre-Cambrian का मतलब much before the when Gondwana land was there was Aravallis. We have written this. They are the pre-Cambrian mountains. Which one? It is forming. See, this process is very slow. 30 million years were required for the formation of Himalayas. So our lifespan is very short कि हम नहीं देखेंगे. But अगर आपको और 30 million साल की ज़िंदगी मिल गई, तो you will see that there is a new range of mountains. जहाँ आज हम खड़े हैं, all this is deforming. थोड़ा ये bend होते जा रहा है. If you look at the proper studies, तो ग्रेट प्लेन्स का साइज 5 सेंटीमीटर से कम होते जा रहा है एवरी ईयर. वाई? बिकॉज ये पार्ट जहाँ हम खड़े हैं आज, इट विल बी फोल्डेड टू फॉर्म द 4th पैरेलल रेंज ऑफ हिमालयस, बट इट विल टेक प्लेस एट अ वेरी वेरी स्लो रेट, बिकॉज इंडियन प्लेट इज स्लाइटली गोइंग बिलो. जिस दिन इंडियन प्लेट थोड़ा ज़्यादा जाता है, उस दिन यू गेट 2004 इंडियन ओशन सुनामी, डिजास्टर हो जाएगा. Imagine right now, instead of slight movement, Indian plate would have gone very deep inside. तो क्या होता? एक क्लास में अंदर हम पेट्रोलियम या कोल डिपॉजिट्स. So this would have happened. या sediments. So fine with this. Now you open the atlas. Wooler Lake is different. Wooler Lake is different. We are talking about the salty lakes. Wooler Lake is the India's largest freshwater lake. So we are talking about the lakes which are present in Leh Ladakh plateau, not in Kashmir. Kashmir के सारे lakes are freshwater. वो तो झेलम के कारण है, Wooler Lake. There was a Tethys Sea na earlier. So these are the salty lakes in the Ladakh plateau, not here. The Ladakh plateau. See, jahan Kashmir etc. valley is there, we already have covered this as sediments. That lakes वो सब बूझ गए because of a sedimentation. इसलिए कश्मीर का soil is fertile, because जब तक sediments नहीं होंगे, soil won't be fertile. So, कश्मीर का soil is fertile. We'll do that later on as Karevas of Kashmir. So the first thing, what I am talking here is the syntaxial bend. The first map of India, page number 10. You can properly see the syntaxial bend here. This is what is the syntaxial bend. उसके ऊपर we have large amount of Himalayas. ये सारा folding है. First syntaxial bend, and exactly come down, you will see Aravallis. The second syntaxial bend, and you will see these hills, Mikir Hills, Rengma Hills, in this part. You will find Mikir Hills of Assam. Mila, Mikir Hills. The extension of Himalayas, carry your atlas regularly. The extension of Himalayas go down to the south and then project as Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Fine with this? Now, can I say क्योंकि पहला push was much stronger, so western part जो था, it should be pushed backwards as compared to the eastern part, क्योंकि पहला जो push है, it will be more stronger. So if somebody is pushing you much stronger, so western part का ये part, this Himalaya should be much backwards. Backwards मतलब in the terms of latitudes, they should be in the higher latitudes as compared to the eastern part जो equator के थोड़ा पास चाहिए, in the lower latitudes. So where, in which city are we now? Delhi. Is Delhi very far away from Himalayas? Is it far from the, can you see Himalayas from Delhi? Can you see Himalayas from Delhi? No, since it is far away. So, अगर नज़दीक रहते, दूरबीन से भी नहीं दिखेगा. दिल्ली में इतना pollution है कि you will not see anything. मून एंड हिमालयाज में बहुत ज़मीन आसमान का फ़र्क है. मून इज़ अ सेलेस्टियल बॉडी. मून की साइज़ क्या है और हिमालयाज की साइज़ क्या है? You can see sun also from here. So that does not mean that we are nearer to the sun. So now you look here. What we mean by that, Himalayas on the western side are much far away from the Great Plains, or they are in the higher latitudes as compared to the eastern Himalayas. And this also has been your past year question, is look at the location of Delhi. So put yourself in Delhi. वहाँ से Himalayas देखो, the states, and go to the east of Delhi, and you will land up in Mount Everest, or you will land up in Arunachal Pradesh, or you will land up in Sikkim. So Delhi के same latitudes पे है Arunachal Pradesh, and अरुणाचल प्रदेश या दिल्ली के सेम लैटिट्यूड पे है माउंट एवरेस्ट. दिल्ली के सेम लैटिट्यूड पे है सिक्किम विच इज एन ईस्टर्न. व्हाई इज दिस सो? यू गॉट एन आंसर बिकॉज जो पहला पुश था इट वाज सो पावरफुल दैट इट पुश्ड द एशियन प्लेट and उसका sediments much backward. The second push was not that powerful and इसलिए Himalayas are coming more towards the south in the eastern part. अगर second push भी had it been very powerful, Himalayas would have gone much behind. Getting this? And this is why they ask you some of the questions, latitude, longitudes ka ya etc. This has been a question that identify a state which is at the same latitudes as Delhi and is present in the Himalayas. So उसमें ऑप्शन दिया था तब अरुणाचल प्रदेश. The answer is अरुणाचल प्रदेश.
So, how did Andaman and Nicobar can form? There was no land mass. No?
That is a Pacific plate का boundary. Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Andaman Nicobar, Indonesia is the Pacific and Indian plate का boundary. उसके अंडमान निकोबार को you cross, you come to Indonesia. Indonesia को cross करके Pacific Ocean शुरू हो जाता है.
So, because of that boundary, there is
Burmese plate is there, a smaller plate is there, Burmese plate.
But there are volcanic hills.
Yes, oceanic crust. You see down, oceanic crust is there. So wherever there is an oceanic crust, there will be volcanic hills. Whenever there is an continental crust, there will be no volcanoes. Height of a mountain also depends upon not just on impact, किस चीज़ से mountain बना है. If the mountain is made up of resistant rocks, वो इतना deform नहीं होगा. If the mountain is made up of softer rocks, it will be deformed more. So if you remember, अगर landslides की मैं बात करता हूँ तो सबसे पहला स्टेट कौन सा आता है आपके दिमाग में? जम्मू कश्मीर, उत्तराखंड और हिमाचल प्रदेश. उत्तराखंड, हिमाचल प्रदेश नहीं. उत्तराखंड में सबसे ज़्यादा लैंडस्लाइड्स है. Why? Because ये उत्तराखंड से जो पहाड़ शुरू होते हैं right up to Sikkim, they have more of a clay and clay has been easily deformed. इसलिए जो central part of हिमालय का clay है, मैं आपको दो rocks देता हूँ. I will give you a rock, granite और एक clay, which you can fold easily. Clay. So the central part of Himalayas is made up of more of a clay, and that depends upon the नीचे का rock. It has nothing to do with this part. So because it is made of clay, it is much greater in height. So उत्तराखंड से जो त्रिशूल, नंदा देवी, अन्नपूर्णा, गौरी शंकर, माउंट एवरेस्ट, कंचनजंगा, ये जो हाइट बढ़ती है, that is because they are much softer rocks. Ask any taxi driver, वो आपको simple words में बताएगा. अगर आपने किसी long distance taxi driver को पूछा कि उत्तराखंड में इतने लैंडस्लाइड्स क्यों होती है, वो कहेगा उत्तराखंड के पहाड़ कच्चे हैं, हिमाचल के पहाड़ पक्के हैं. He does not know the plate tectonics, but he knows the practical application. That is, it is made up of clay and बाकी का it is made up of granite. बाकी का the part is made up of granite. Getting it? What is the practical implication of this? This is the Trans-Himalayas, Karakoram and Kailash. ये है मानसरोवर राकास lake region. What is the practical implication of this syntaxial bend? There are numerous rivers which will originate in the Himalayas, badi rivers. Example is Ganga, example is Brahmaputra, example is Indus, and one of the best example is Mekong. Have you heard about the river Mekong? It is, you know that it is 3 times bigger than Ganga and Brahmaputra. Ganga की size 2,500 kilometers. Brahmaputra somewhere around the same. Indus थोड़ी उससे कम. But Mekong is somewhere around 6,000 kilometers in length. One of the longest rivers of the world. But ये सारी एक ही साथ उसी एरिया से originate होती है, nearby. But it is Indus which flows through this region, but because of a syntaxial bend मतलब हमारे डायग्राम में ये it is coming as a hollow region. In reality, you should know ये क्या है? It is a compressed stone. So the Indus cannot erode this part, and it is forced to take a southward bend to enter India. Brahmaputra flowing through this region goes straight, but after coming here, it cannot erode this part, and therefore it is taking a sudden southward bend to enter India. On the other hand, Mekong, which does not encounter a syntaxial bend, it flows straight into China. China Sea, it is flowing straight into South China Sea, that is Pacific Ocean. Mekong originates in Asia, Himalayas mein, but where does it end? It ends into the Pacific Ocean. So why? Because of the syntaxial bend is not encountered. So एक importance याद रखना syntaxial bend का, had the syntaxial bend not been there, तो ये area would have been a desert region. Himalayas नहीं होते तो we would have been a desert. India would have been a desert, because if you see the world map, India is at the same latitudes as Saudi Arabia and Iran, and वहाँ का climatic conditions are very different. It is because ये जो बारिश आज हो रही है, this is due to the winds which come from Indian Ocean. Because they are coming from the ocean, they are moist winds. They could have passed directly over India, but it is the Himalayas which does not allow them to pass. And because they do not allow them to pass, India has a special kind of climate, what is known as a monsoon type of an climate. That is the special kind of an climate. And monsoon, good monsoon, economy rises. Bad monsoon, economic failure. That is, you should remember, even after so many things, we are still dependent upon the mercy of Indian monsoon every year. बजट को फेल कर देता है इंडियन मॉनसून, या बजट को पास कर देता है इंडियन मॉनसून. ड्रॉट्स 1 year before election, next year government out of power. Good rainfall 1 year before election, so you will know half of the outcome of the next election. क्योंकि इसका होगा when the harvest season will come, bumper harvest. When the bumper harvest, more money in the hands of the population. आज भी याद रखना 59% of Indian population is directly or indirectly dependent on agriculture. So after that, which अब next year election आएंगे, the government can give subsidies etc. and thus अच्छे दिन. And unfortunately 2014 में, जब 2015 में जो election आए थे, unfortunately 2013 and 14 were drought years. And that is because we will do that in climate, a phenomena known as El Nino. उस समय El Nino था, इस साल La Nina है. So La Nina, good rainfall. El Nino, bad rainfall. Droughts in India. Now you see how the same things have been reflected in the mythology itself. Samudra Manthan, Tethys Sea, right? Krishna ki Dwarka, समंदर के नीचे. Indian western coast of India is a submerged coastline. Where is Dwarka? Dwarka was supposed to be region जहाँ पे गुजरात है. So the last thing about Indian mythology, गंगा को कंट्रोल करने के लिए शिव जी ने जटा बनाई और फिर उसको गंगा को कंट्रोल किया, अदरवाइज गंगा तबाही मचा रही थी. Indian geography, that is, Ganga river is an example of an antecedent river. That is, it was there before the upliftment of the Himalayas. But after the upliftment of the Himalayas, Ganga was, or the Indo-Brahma river was divided into 3 different river systems. The same things are there. The only thing is what you are right. Because आज की mythology मतलब उनका description है कभी, if they were ever living, और उनकी stories है. We consider them today as a mythology, but they should be used to remember some of our resources. And this is how you study also geography. This is how, that is हड़प्पा एंड मोहनजोदाड़ो के सील से जब पता लगता है कि सारनाथ में लायन है, हड़प्पा मोहनजोदाड़ो के सील पे राइनोज है, that means this region was once densely forested. So with this, take down some of the answer for the formation of the Himalayas. Himalayas are the youngest and the highest fold mountains in the world. Himalayas are the youngest and the highest fold mountains of the world. Which originated due to the collision of Indian plate with the Eurasian plate. Indian plate with the Eurasian plate. Indian plate with the Eurasian plate. These two plates were separated by Tethys geosyncline. Were separated by Tethys geosyncline. Tethys geosyncline. Geosyncline मतलब ब्रैकेट में लिखना लॉन्ग नैरो शैलो सी. जियोसिंक्लाइन का मतलब है लॉन्ग नैरो शैलो सी. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, in the Mesozoic era, the Indian plate started drifting northwards. After separating from the Gondwana land. As it drifted northwards, तो मैं आपको पूरा थियरी दूंगा, अब क्वेश्चन क्या आता है उस हिसाब से आपको आंसर लिखना है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर क्वेश्चन आता है फॉर्मेशन ऑफ हिमालयाज, तो ये जो लाइन मैं आपको डिक्टेट करूंगा दैट यू डू नॉट हैव टू राइट, बट यू शुड नो दिस लाइन ऑल्सो. दैट इज एज इट ड्रिफ्टेड नॉर्थवर्ड्स, द वेस्टर्न पार्ट ऑफ इंडियन प्लेट came under the influence of reunion hotspot. The western part of Indian plate came under the influence of reunion hotspot, forming Deccan lava plateau. Give me a minute. मैम लिखने के बाद हो. Next point, as the Indian plate drifted northwards, initially the floors of the Tethys Sea was subducted. The floor of the Tethys Sea was subducted. The floors of the Tethys Sea were subducted. To give rise to mountains immediately to the north of Himalayas. Mountains immediately to the north of Himalayas, known as Trans-Himalayas. Immediately to the north of the Himalayas, known as Trans-Himalayas. Next point. The two arms of Indian plate in the bracket Aravallis and Mikir-Rengma Hills, bracket closed, Mikir-Rengma Hills, gave maximum push to the Asian plate, gave maximum push to the Asian plate, giving rise to hairpin bend. Syntaxial bend are also known as hairpin bend or syntaxial bend. Giving rise to hairpin bend or the syntaxial bend. Next, around 30 million years ago, the first phase of collision was completed. The first phase of collision was completed. Giving rise to Great Himalayas. Same point में, as the Indian plate first collided on the western part, therefore the western Himalayas are comparatively older. As comparatively older than eastern Himalayas. They are also far away from the Great Plains. ये सब नहीं लिखना है far away, this is just for prelims, because इसमें से ही आएंगे prelims में भी. जिसमें एल्प्स बने थे उसी में हिमालयस बने थे, एंडीज बना था, रॉकीज बना था. Therefore we will say alpine origin. that जो crack हुआ था, it resulted into western part going down and the eastern part also sliding. Alps, Rockies, ये फर्स्ट लेक्चर में बताया था. टर्शरी फोल्ड माउंटेन्स मतलब एल्प्स, रॉकीज, एंडीज, एटलस एंड हिमालयास. इन सारों का पीरियड ऑफ फॉर्मेशन इज सेम, इसलिए वी कॉल देम एज अल्पाइन ओरोजनी. वाई अल्पाइन ओरोजनी? कोई खास नहीं, बिकॉज ज्योग्राफी एज अ सब्जेक्ट फर्स्ट इवॉल्व इन जर्मनी, इसलिए यूरोप के माउंटेन से नाम है. अगर इंडिया में होता तो हिमालयन ओरोजनी होता. हाँ, ये तो फर्स्ट लेक्चर में लिखवाया है. यू आर नॉट देयर इन फर्स्ट लेक्चर. सो ओल्डेस्ट माउंटेन रेंज ऑफ द वर्ल्ड इज अरावलीज, प्री कैम्ब्रियन पीरियड.
So that means more or less all the plates की जो movement थी वो similar.
More or less similar होती है. Remember that those who were absent in the first lecture, Aravallis are the oldest mountains in the world, and once upon a time this same Aravallis were as high as Himalayas. Were as high as Himalayas. Today they have been reduced in height. How do we know कि they are as high as Himalayas? Because जितना high mountain है उतना उसका deep is the root. Because Sial is anyways floating on Sima. So the roots of the mountains are deeper. So Aravallis का root is as deep as Himalayas का root. And if I take a bottle water in a tub and उसके ऊपर मैं 4 different substance लेता हूँ. I take a sponge, I take a tin का box, I take a iron का box. So which किसका height सबसे ज़्यादा रहेगा and which will sink? Sponge का height सबसे ज़्यादा रहेगा. Iron का box will sink. Why is it so? Density ज़्यादा है iron की. The same logic applies to the continental crust and the oceanic crust. So remember, जितने highest mountains हैं उनके rocks की density उतनी कम है. They are nothing but floating. This fold mountains. Thankfully in GS we do not do the formation of old fold mountains. Aravallis are also fold mountains, Urals are also fold mountains, Appalachians are also fold mountains, because ये plates बनती रहती है and टूटती रहती है. That is, once when the fourth parallel range of Himalayas is formed here, this Indian plate will become stabilized. अब convectional currents, because वो इस direction में ज़्यादा change नहीं कर सकते, so they will change the direction. And when they will change the direction, depending upon where they change the direction, maybe the India ka part will become a divergent plate boundary. So you never know what is going to happen, but it happens very slowly over the period of time. So जो Aravallis है, this was the initially a continental edge and it was folded, क्योंकि कोई 2 plates थी. कौन सी plates थी? Not required in GS. जैसे Urals है, these were 2 different plates. Asia and Europe was 2 different plates earlier. They collided, resulting into formation of Urals. But today they have become stable. We will come to this word later on as the lectures progress, that this stability is known as isostatic equilibrium. So that isostatic equilibrium has been reached in the older plates, but it has still not yet been reached in Himalayas. And you will have to use these words in the exam. Isostatic equilibrium. We will come to that over the period of time. हाँ, तो ये इंडिया अलग हुआ है. So what is this? Aravallis. ये सिंग मैंने क्यों बनाया इंडिया के ऊपर? To tell you that this is Aravallis. Next point. What is that? From Great Plains. From the Great Plains, full stop. This is because the first push was very powerful. This is because the first push was very powerful. उसके बाद next point. The collision occurred in 3 different phases. The collision occurred in 3 different phases, giving rise to 3 parallel range of the Himalayas. Giving rise to 3 parallel range of the Himalayas. Giving rise to 3 parallel range of the Himalayas. Next, which is the youngest in तीनों में? Shivaliks. That is, the Shivaliks were formed around 2 to 20 million years ago. The Shivaliks were formed around 2 to 20 million years ago. 2 to 20 million years ago. Not 22 million years ago, 2 to 20 million years ago. इसका मतलब 18 millions लगे शिवालिक बनने में. So you can understand how slow the process is. So the 4th parallel range, it will take again millions of years. तब तक humans will be created and destroyed. Life will keep on changing उसका form. Because if we keep on doing the same kind of pollution, our maximum कितना दिया है? Span of human beings, 100 years. With the same kind of pollution, हम ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 100 साल जी सकते हैं. अगर 20 साल होता तो आई वुड हैव आस्क्ड क्यों पैसे बर्बाद कर रहे हो आईएएस बनने में, बट इट इज़ स्टिल 100 years इज़ अ लॉन्ग टाइम. सो last point here, the Himalayas are still rising. The Himalayas are still rising. The Himalayas are still rising because the Indian plate is still going below the Eurasian plate, and this will continue till the time isostatic equilibrium is not achieved. Isostatic equilibrium is not achieved. Till the time isostatic equilibrium is not achieved. Isostatic equilibrium, balance between the forces. Convectional current जब तक stabilize नहीं होंगे, in simple words. Evidences, ये पूरे theory का evidence. First evidence. Do the evidences very properly for even prelims. एक साल करंट अफेयर्स से क्वेश्चन आए इसका मतलब नहीं हर साल आएंगे. 2017 में बहुत ज़्यादा करंट अफेयर्स, 2018 में दैट स्ट्रैटेजी फेल्ड. 16 में हाँ सबसे ज़्यादा करंट अफेयर्स, 16 में सबसे ज़्यादा करंट अफेयर्स, 17 में फेल्ड एंड 18 में टोटली फेल्ड दैट स्ट्रैटेजी. सो 17 में questions came from physical geography, 18 में questions came from economic geography and economics. 2014 में 21 क्वेश्चन पॉलिटी के, 2015 में 2 क्वेश्चन पॉलिटी के. सो डोंट गो बाय द ट्रेंड्स. प्रीलिम्स के लिए सब कुछ करके जाना. आई एम सेइंग दिस बिकॉज 6.5 लाख में से 10,000 कैंडिडेट्स मिलना इज वेरी वेरी इजी, एंड ये इंक्रीज होगा. वाई? बिकॉज जॉब्स नहीं है मार्केट में. दिस इज ऑल्सो अ रियलिटी. चाहे आप कुछ भी कहो, मुझे बचपन से सपना था आईएएस बनने का, ये सब करने का. रियलिटी इज that is there are no good jobs available in the market, so these are the best jobs. इसलिए we have doctors also, we have engineers also, we have humanities also, we have everyone. मैं तो कहता हूँ because I come from the engineering background, मैं कहता हूँ राजेंद्र नगर में पत्थर मारो इंजीनियर को लगेगा. So there are so many engineers in this region. So this is what is the so each and every mark will count. That is why I am asking you to bring the atlas. कि क्या होगा once you will go next year, सबसे पहले यू विल डू ऑल द टेस्ट सीरीज, दुनिया भर की टेस्ट सीरीज लगाओगे, टेस्ट सीरीज के पेपर घर में सॉल्व करोगे, सब कुछ करोगे, टेस्ट सीरीज में बहुत अच्छे मार्क्स आएंगे. दिस इज एन एक्सपीरियंस. बट व्हेन यू गो फॉर द एग्जामिनेशन हाथ कांपने शुरू हो जाएंगे, बिकॉज स्ट्रेस आ जाता है. घर में स्ट्रेस नहीं है, एंड स्ट्रेस विल मेक यू लूज 3-4 मार्क्स. सो यू nothing can replicate the exam like conditions, because exam like conditions में you are internally through stress. and वहाँ पे 3-4 questions ऐसे होंगे which will make or break, because आज भी the people who have not cleared the prelims, what is the difference? 97, 98, 98, 99. most of the people are clubbed between 90 to 97. या और इसमें से कुछ और 90 to 100. ऐसा नहीं है कि बहुत 90 से बहुत ज़्यादा लोग कम है. इफ़ यू आस्क द मार्क्स, मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल आर क्लब्ड इन दिस रेंज 90 to 110 के रेंज में, एंड दैट डिसाइड्स द कट ऑफ. सो बिकॉज जो उनको लेनी है इस साल 700 वैकेंसीज थी फॉर एग्जाम्पल, व्हाट द गवर्नमेंट विल डू इनटू 13. So what is the figure that will come out? उतने लोग लेंगे out of the top people. अगर next year 1000 है vacancies तो into 13. अगर next year 500 है vacancies into 13. So this is what is the ratio for the preliminary examination. So each and every mark matters. So ऐसा नहीं कि this is the subject मेरा weak है, मेरा strong है. No, there is no excuse. मैं साइंस बैकग्राउंड से नहीं हूँ. नो, दिस शुड नॉट बी एक्सक्यूज. साइंस आता है सिर्फ 10th लेवल तक का, एंड यू आर एक्सपेक्टेड टू नो एवरीथिंग. मैं बायो छोड़ के जाऊँगा, ऐसा नहीं करना, बिकॉज ईच वन मार्क्स मैटर्स एंड इट विल डायरेक्टली टेक 1 year आउट ऑफ योर लाइफ. फिर उसके साथ साथ नेगेटिव ये है कि मेंस की प्रैक्टिस नहीं होगी. यू विल नॉट रियलाइज हाउ टू राइट द मेंस एग्जामिनेशन या इंटरव्यू की. सो वाई टू पोस्टपोन समथिंग विच यू ऑलरेडी हैव टू डू एनीवेज. सो उससे अच्छा गिव योर बेस्ट 1 year and see, these are the best jobs. there is no thing about, there is no negation about it. चाहे कोई भी कुछ कहे, at least the top 4 jobs are the best jobs here, because इससे अगर बेस्ट जॉब्स है तो वो स्टेट सर्विसेज है 4-5 इनिशियल जॉब्स के बाद. स्टेट सर्विसेज की सिर्फ 2 ही जॉब्स, SDM एंड DSP, बट उसके लिए कंपटीशन इससे भी ज़्यादा है. यूपीएससी में IRS बनना आसान है जितना स्टेट में SDM बनने से, बिकॉज कंपटीशन इज़ वेरी हाई. 4 पोस्ट 5 पोस्ट, एंड स्टेट के एग्जाम्स आर वेरी फैक्चुअल, एंड उसमें कोई साइंटिफिक एनालिसिस नहीं होती. मार्क्स कभी भी किसी को आ जाते हैं अगर एग्ज़ाम फेयर है तो. अगर अनफेयर है तो देयर इज़ नो क्वेश्चन ओनली. So the first evidence is the Himalayas are still rising at the rate of, the Himalayas are still rising at the rate of 5 to 10 centimeters a year. 5 to 10 centimeters a year. Second, with the convergent plate boundary, and the rise of Himalayas, there is equivalent sea floor spreading occurring in mid-Indian Ocean ridge. Equivalent sea floor spreading occurring in mid-Indian Ocean ridge. Third, presence of marine sediments and fossils. Ridge. Presence of marine sediments and fossils. presence of marine sediments and fossils in Himalayas. Marine sediments and fossils in Himalayas. In fact, एक फेमस ट्री है जो सिर्फ हिमालयाज में मिलता है एंड उसका नाम है एक्चुअली वो कैंसर मेडिसिन में बहुत ज़्यादा यूज होता है एंड इट इज़ फाउंड ओनली इन द हिमालयाज. इट्स नेम इज सी बकथॉर्न बिकॉज इसका इक्विवेलेंट कजिन इज फाउंड इन द सी. What does that mean? That means this tree has adjusted itself to the land, adapted and survived, and now it has grown. The sea buckthorn. वैसे ही same gene वाला algae मिलता है below the ocean. That is why the name of an tree is sea buckthorn. एक याद रखना prelims के लिए, though it is an indirect evidence, so no need of writing in the exam. It is estimated that Himalayas are extremely rich in petroleum deposits. Himalayas are extremely rich in petroleum deposits. Petroleum deposits. Remember, the first oil field in India was in Assam, Digboi, in Assam, part of Upper Assam. Upper Assam is Himalayan region. We'll do that in the industries. Next, the fossils, especially the fossils of flora. The fossils of flora. Flora means trees, plants, which are found in shivaliks. As well as the Tibetan plateau. Found in shivaliks as well as the Tibetan plateau are similar. तो ये एविडेंस कैसा है? You understand that today Tibetan plateau is at the height of 5.5 kilometers and Shivaliks are at the height of only 650 to 1000 meters. 4 किलोमीटर का डिफरेंस है. And with the 4 kilometers का डिफरेंस, there should be somewhere around 26 डिग्री सेल्सियस का डिफरेंस. 26 डिग्री सेल्सियस के डिफरेंस में अगर यहाँ का टेम्परेचर इज 20, यहाँ का टेम्परेचर इज सब जीरो -6 एंड 0 डिग्री सेल्सियस के बाद प्लांट्स अलग है एंड हीटेड एनवायरनमेंट में प्लांट्स अलग है. बट द सेम ओल्ड फॉसिल्स आर फाउंड which shows that Tibetan plateau was once at a lower height, but over the period of time it has been uplifted. So this is what ये evidence means. So you take down, this shows that the Tibetan plateau, which was once at a lower height, has been uplifted. Next evidence, the presence of saline lakes. The presence of saline lakes in the Tibetan plateau. Presence of saline lakes in the Tibetan plateau. Presence of saline lakes in the Tibetan plateau. जिसमें से 2 इंडिया के हमें याद रखने हैं. वैसे तो बहुत सारे हैं, but you should know this one is known as Pangong Tso. It is an international lake between India and China, and this one is known as Somoriri. Pangong So and Somoriri. Saline है इसलिए no life is present in these lakes. Fine with this? Pangong So has been shown in numerous movies also. Three Idiots का last scene, that is an Pangong So. It is commonly shot location, that is the Pangong So lake in the Tibetan Plateau region. Fine with this? So that is all about the Himalayas and India and some of the applied question from here. हम कौन सी boundary कर रहे हैं? We are still doing the convergent boundary. Continent, 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 ocean, and the third is, third type of an convergent boundary is, that is an old plateau. That is the same thing, but old, very old fold mountains. एशिया आज भी एशिया का पार्ट है. That was much earlier, before the Trans Himalayas. Himalayas don't come out of Pamir Mountain. Both the plates are oceanic plates, and what does it explain? It explains the formation of festoons. That is, it explains the formation of island arcs. Island arcs are also known as festoons, or they are also known as archipelagos. It explains the formation of island arc and festoons. क्या कहा था वेगनर ने? Wegener had told कि कुछ पार्ट पीछे रह गए, and this has resulted into formation of island arc and festoons, but that is not the case. Now here both the plates are oceanic plates, and since both the plates are oceanic plates, more or less they have the same density. And but यहाँ पे what will happen, the stronger or the bigger the plate, like Pacific plate, it will subduct, और जिसकी velocity ज़्यादा है it will subduct. So don't worry what will subduct, because it depends upon numerous factors: velocity, plate का size, density of the material, force कहाँ से apply हो रहा है, but उसका result is more important to us. So there is another plate which is an example of another oceanic plate. Now both this oceanic plate will converge, and we'll take this part as in plate 1 and this part as a plate 2, and for us let us remember that plate 2 is going to be more denser. As the plate 2 is going to be more denser, obviously it is going to submerge or subduct. But the process will be more or less similar. What will be the process? The process will be, this will result into deformation and the formation of mountains below the oceans. The only thing is, this is now below the oceans. यहाँ पे there is an ocean water below. sediments of both the plates are being compressed. Niche what is there? Niche there is an asthenosphere, that is there is an magma below. Now because it is an example of an oceanic plate, obviously it will subduct, and because of subduction it will go much deeper. As it goes deeper, what we can understand is that it will melt, and after melting there will be large amount of magma or lava, and this magma or lava will find its way upwards. As it finds its way upwards, it will give into eruptions. But these eruptions, as soon as they come up, they will solidify. Why solidify? Because they will cool as it is below the sea. So this will solidify. अगर pressure ज़्यादा बढ़ गया, again it is going to erupt and solidify. So the layers and layers of this magma or lava will be built up, and some of these layers may come on the top of an water body, and it will result into what we will say as the group of islands. And this group of islands, like the continental plates or the continental arcs, will be arc-like in shape. जहाँ से push ज़्यादा है, that part will be deformed, resulting into the formation of an continental islands. And obviously, in this some of these continental islands, so I am rubbing this part so that you don't get confused. In some of these continental islands, we also will have what is known as an trench or the subduction zone. So कोई फर्क नहीं है प्रोसेस में, प्रोसेस इज सेम एज द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ माउंटेन्स. इसीलिए हम कहते हैं कि माउंटेन्स आर कॉन्टिनेंटल आर्क्स एंड दिस आर नोन एज एन ओशनिक आर्क्स और आइलैंड आर्क्स. See, this will initially collide. Collision will result into formation of fold mountains. ज़रूरी नहीं that all the fold mountains will be coming on the top of an ocean, but subduction होगा क्योंकि one plate is denser. After the subduction, there will be melting of a plate. After the melting of a plate, यहाँ पे the volume of magma will increase, and because it is going to increase, it will try the path to escape the earth because pressure बढ़ गया वहाँ पे. As it tries to escape the earth, there will be volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruptions में magma will come up, but ऊपर आते ही it will become solidified. So जितने बार ये volcanic eruption होगा, उतने बार magma ऊपर आएगा, it will become solidified. So layer of magma will build up, and ultimately the height of the mountains may come on the top. And जब वो ऊपर आएंगे तो हमें लगेगा they are islands. But will there be a single island? No. Just like long mountainous chains, this will be the group of islands, and they are known as an island arc. Just like mountains, they will not be straight. They will be, जहाँ से push ज़्यादा है, that part will be bent, and therefore they will be arc like in shape, and therefore island arc and festoons. Getting it, everyone? Tsunami is the release of energy. It can cause due to numerous reasons. इससे भी आएगी सुनामी, अर्थक्वेक से सुनामी आएगी. So obviously यहाँ पे there will be earthquakes also. Everything is there common except कि ये समंदर के नीचे प्रोसेस हो रही है. Yes, because Japan is an example of an island arc. Philippines is an example of an island arc. Indonesia is an example of an island arc. Cuba is an example of an island arc. Caribbean islands all are an example of an island arc. इसलिए जैसे हमारा क्लास शुरू हुआ, लोम्बोक आइलैंड है, 126 पीपल डाइड बिकॉज ऑफ एन अर्थक्वेक. वाई? बिकॉज इट इज एन आइलैंड आर्क. कौन सा आइलैंड आर्क है? एक साइड में इंडियन प्लेट है, दूसरे साइड में देयर इज एन पैसिफिक प्लेट. गेटिंग इट? सो टेक डाउन आइलैंड आर्क एंड फेस्टून्स, so or the ocean convergence. As both the plates are oceanic plates, as both the plates are oceanic plates, they have similar density, they have similar density. In case of collision, a plate of greater density or greater velocity, plate of greater density or greater velocity may subduct. In case of collision, a plate of greater density or greater velocity may subduct. The sediments of both the plates, next point, the sediments of both the plates, the sediments of both the plates are folded to form submarine mountains, due to subduction. See, you have to understand two things, कि ये दोनों प्लेट पतली है as compared to the continental plate. अगर subduction हो रहा है continental plate में, तो volcanic eruption will not be frequent. Why it will not be frequent? Because the thickness greater है continental plate का. But यहाँ पे both the plates are very thin, and therefore यहाँ पे क्या होगा? Frequent volcanoes. Because थोड़ा बहुत subduction it will be thrown away. ऊपर का एक पूरा layer continental crust का absent है यहाँ पे. कॉन्टिनेंटल क्रस्ट होता तो ऊपर कॉन्टिनेंटल क्रस्ट, नीचे ओशियनिक क्रस्ट, एंड उसके बाद में एस्थेनोस्फीयर. यहाँ पे ऊपर का लेयर इज मिसिंग, सो देयर विल बी कांस्टेंट वोल्केनिज्म. सो ड्यू टू सबडक्शन देयर इज कांस्टेंट वोल्केनिज्म, there is constant volcanism, full stop. Layers of, क्या लिखोगे, मैग्मा और लावा बाहर आने के बाद? The layers of lava build up and are projected above the water level, forming a chain of arc-like islands. Forming a chain of arc-like islands. Known as island arc or festoons.
Then can we say
Not all island are formed because of this. Islands एक अलग category है. Islands is any land which is surrounded by water on three sides. So Andaman and Nicobar are not formed by this process, or to some extent they are formed by this process, but more is folding is dominant. Lakshadweep are coral islands.
So, but in Andaman Island also Indian plate and Pacific plate are.
वो मोस्टली डिफॉर्मेशन से बना है. पूरा ओशनिक प्लेट नहीं है इंडियन, ये प्रॉपर ओशनिक ओशन कोलिजन है. इन अंडमान एंड निकोबार का स्लाइटली डिफरेंट है, वो ज़्यादा फ्रिक्शन से बना है रादर देन प्रॉपर कोलिजन. दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ फ्रिक्शन. अगर कोलिजन से बना रहता तो हाइट वुड हैव बीन वेरी वेरी हाई. इट इज मोर ड्यू टू फ्रिक्शन. सम पार्ट्स गॉट फोल्डेड.
There is so much difference between the coast of India and that Andaman.
Difference in the terms of what?
Like distance.
Coast is something different from plates, na? Coast is associated with land. Plates is something different. Plates are nothing to do with land and sea. So Indian plate is something different. Don't confuse कि all the islands have this thing. Coral islands है Lakshadweep. These islands are formed due to collision. Iceland is formed due to divergent. So there are different reasons for islands. So you cannot say all islands have basaltic rock. You can only say majority of the islands will have basaltic. All and majority में फर्क है. All islands will not have basalt. जो इस प्रोसेस से बने हैं they will have basalt. Example Japan, Indonesia, etc. Example Iceland. Example Hawaii. Example Andaman and Nicobar too, but not Lakshadweep, not Maldives. They do not have basalt. Caribbean island arc. Caribbean मतलब which region? Central America, that is West Indies. So we have, I guess we have seen the map of this island. So it consists of this is USA. उसके बाद this is the Florida वाला region. Then this is Central America. We have done the Nicaragua Canal also. Then this is South America, Maracaibo Lake. And then this South America goes down. So this is what is the South American region. Now this region of the world is what is known as an Cuba, Haiti, Jamaica, Trinidad, Tobago. All this region is what is known as an Caribbean island arcs. Now why is this Caribbean island arcs? Just remember one minor plate. कौन सी plate है यहाँ पे? Caribbean plate. Cocos plate is exactly opposite. And which is this? What is the direction of North American plate? To the west. And Caribbean plate यहाँ पे है. So when it is moving towards the west, is it not becoming a convergent plate boundary? It is moving towards the west and Caribbean plate is here. So if it is coming here, यहाँ पे the Caribbean plate is colliding with the oceanic part of North American plate. And as a result of this, we have Caribbean island arc. Caribbean island arc are known by the name of Greater and Lesser Antilles. So you can take down the Caribbean island arc. The Caribbean island arc. Here the North American plate, subducts below the Caribbean plate, subducts below the Caribbean plate. forming a group of islands known as Greater and Lesser Antilles. Group of island known as Greater and Lesser Antilles. Known as Greater and Lesser Antilles. So subduction होगा तो trench होगा, right? And hence the subduction point is the deepest point of Atlantic. The subduction point is the deepest point of Atlantic. The subduction point is the deepest point of Atlantic. Known as Puerto Rico Trench. Known as Puerto Rico Trench. Look at the spelling there. Known as Puerto Rico Trench. It is also famous for, ये prelims के लिए, it is also famous for Mount Pelee. Also famous for Mount Pelee. क्या खासियत है माउंट पेली की? See, the volcanoes when they occur, they may give out either ash, they may give out either gases, or they may give out lava. This lava may be very very warm, or it may be extremely hot. जरूरी नहीं कि lava is always very very hot. मतलब the temperature can vary between 2000 to 6000 degree Celsius. 2000 degree Celsius comparatively lesser hot. 6000 degree Celsius very very hot. Mount Pelee is known for throwing fire flames high up in the sky. So जब भी Mount Pelee erupt होता है ऐसे लगता है that sky is on fire. So last time when it erupted, Mount Pelee, long back in 17th century, it made sure that two countries vanished from the world map. छोटी-छोटी two countries vanished from the world map. That is, it is the most dangerous volcano in the world because ये gases नहीं देता. What it gives out is fire. It gives out mostly of an magma or lava. And ये जो lava है, इसका speed of flow after eruption is 70 to 80 kilometers per hour. मतलब जितनी अपनी गाड़ी की speed है. So at this such an high speed, obviously it is very difficult to escape because volcanoes occur suddenly. It is known as New Ardenti. ये नाम प्रीलिम्स के लिए याद रखने हैं. New Ardenti मतलब क्या? Means glowing sky. Yes. So once we do plate tectonics, oceanography is very easy. Climatology में थोड़ा time लगेगा. Rest of geography is also very easy आज के lecture के बाद. Oceanography में shelf, slope, trench, mid oceanic ridges. कहाँ ये हम पढ़ते हैं. So you already know the basics of trench. क्यों होगा? Because of an subduction zone. उसके बाद आपको सिर्फ देखना है कि important trenches क्या है. ये भी हम यहाँ पे ख़त्म करेंगे in volcanoes. बिकॉज मरीना ट्रेंच कहाँ पे है, मिंडानो ट्रेंच कहाँ पे है. देन ओशन बॉटम रिलीफ में हम करेंगे मिड ओशनिक रिजेस. यू ऑलरेडी हैव डन दिस. इट इज फॉर्म ड्यू टू द डाइवर्जेंट प्लेट बाउंड्री. Japanese island arc. It is formed due to collision of Eurasian plate, Pacific plate, and minor Philippines plate. जापान के 3 आइलैंड्स है. When we say Japan, it is basically, if we consider this as Japan, वैसे तो there are numerous islands in Japan, but main are 3 islands: Hokkaido, Honshu and Shikaku. So ये जो upper part है, this is Pacific and Eurasian plate. जो lower part है, this is Pacific plate and the Philippines plate. इतना डिटेल में याद रखने की जरूरत नहीं, सिर्फ इतना याद रखना that Philippines, Pacific and Eurasian plate. कौन सा plate will subduct? Which is the most densest of all the plates? Pacific plate. So the Pacific plate subducts. Forming a trench. अगर याद रखना है तो रखो, नहीं तो कोई ज़रूरत नहीं. Forming a trench, not that important trench. वैसे भी अगर प्रीलिम्स में आता है तो नाम से पता लगेगा, इट इज़ इन जापान. So Ryukyu trench. You already know why. Formed due to the collision of Pacific with the Philippines plate. It is formed due to the collision of Pacific plate with the Philippines plate. Pacific plate with the Philippines plate. The Pacific plate goes below or subducts, forming the deepest trench that is Mariana Trench, and Mindanao Trench. And the Mindanao Trench. So, Japan, Indonesia, Borneo and Philippines. So, यहाँ पे the plate is the Philippines plate. This is how the boundary of an Philippines plate is. This is the Pacific plate. And here we have the Mariana Trench and we have the Mindanao Trench. What is the other name for the Mariana Trench? It is also known as a Challenger Deep, and this is so we'll meet tomorrow. I guess tomorrow you are having 2 classes. Thank you.